Good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren Edzenga, and I'm the Outreach Educator at the Wildlife Center of Virginia. Today, we are celebrating National Drawing Day. Kayla will be leading us creatively over the course of the day according to your votes for who you want to see her draw. The polls will be posted in the moderated discussion on our website, and an outreach staff member like myself or Alex or Amanda will talk a little bit about each animal as they're drawn. National Drawing Day celebrates artistic abilities of all levels, and we encourage you to draw along with us today. Today is also a fundraising opportunity for us. We're encouraging everyone to make a donation today, whether that be sponsoring the CAM, symbolically adopting an animal through our Caring for Critters program, or buying a t-shirt from our online store. All of those transactions will count toward our goal of $4,000 to purchase an additional critter cam to add to our lineup. Many of you may know that we have many bears this year. And when we move them out to our 2-acre black bear complex, we'll actually be utilizing 2 different yards this year since we have so many cubs. An additional camera in our lineup will enable us to have a camera on each yard so that we can share them with all of you and so that our staff can check up on them as well as do regular safety checks, which is very important with bears. So our goal to start us off this morning is $750. Right now with CAM sponsorships that came in within the past day, we're already at $300. So you guys are great already. Once we meet that goal, we'll put that up in the poll in the chat to see who Kayla will draw first. And I will be joining you guys to talk about whoever is voted this morning first. So your choices for the beginning of today will be Rowan, Gus, or Edie. And just to reiterate, that's when we meet our first goal of $750 today. I'll also be there while she draws to talk to all of you about whoever is picked. And that sounds very exciting for me because I know that I work personally with these 3 birds pretty closely. And I know that that'll be really fun. So once that gets underway, we'll announce our next goal. And when we hit that, we'll publish a poll for our second drawing. And then it'll just continue from there. So yeah, I'm excited for you guys to join us today. And I know it's going to be a really great time. So what we're going to do this morning is I'm just going to sort of chat a little bit about the Wildlife Center for some of you that may not know what the Wildlife Center is, or maybe you're here for the first time, or maybe you just super love the Wildlife Center and you just want to hear about all of the glorious things that we do. Which combination of any of those is fantastic. But essentially, I'm just going to continue talking until we reach that first goal of $750 this morning. And remember, we're starting already at $300 because you guys are awesome and have sponsored the CAM a bunch in the past day. So yeah. So guys, the Wildlife Center of Virginia is a nonprofit teaching and research hospital for native Virginia wildlife. So what that means is that we are located in Waynesboro, Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley, and native Virginia wildlife obviously cannot call us on the phone or knock on our door when they become injured, orphaned, or sick. So it's people just like you guys who not only help us to financially support our mission, but also are out there finding these animals and bringing them to us so that we can help them in our hospital. Now, our hospital is fully equipped with everything that an animal would ever need to be treated for a lot of different injuries. So our intake exams involve looking in the animal's eyes and ears, looking in their mouth, taking radiographs to look at their bones. The veterinarians do something called palpate, which means that they feel all over their body, and they listen to their heart and their breathing, and we run blood tests and fecal exams, and all of those things help us to play detective to sort of figure out what is going on with that animal. And once we have that, we can start to develop a care plan for that critter. So our veterinary team does all different kinds of things, from regular injections to administering medications, bandage wraps. We can put on casts and splints. And then we also have a full surgery suite, which is pretty unique to our organization. So in between all of those medical treatments and all of that medical care, obviously those animals need a place to live, and they need a place to heal, and also they need some food. So our wildlife rehabilitators work very closely with these animals every single day in our hospital, and they provide them all of the nutritional foods that they need to be able to heal well. And that is something that's very, very important. If you think about if you go to the hospital and you need to have surgery, but they only feed you Doritos and pizza crusts, you're probably not going to heal as well as if they're giving you good, nutritious food. So in our wildlife hospital, we make sure to feed all of these animals an appropriate diet in appropriate amounts so that they can heal to the best of their ability. And our wildlife rehabilitators also find a place for these animals to be housed while they're with us. So obviously we can't just have everyone running around in the hospital. Otherwise, that would be kind of dangerous for us and also for them, because remember, wildlife don't necessarily appreciate what we're doing. We are predators to them, and so oftentimes us interacting with them is very scary. And not only that, but we wouldn't want the food chain happening right in front of our eyes in the hospital. That'd be kind of counterintuitive. So say we have a bird that has a broken wing and he has a cast on, or maybe he recently has surgery. Obviously, you wouldn't want to put that animal out into a large enclosure where they have to move around a lot, because that injury would prevent them from being successful out there and they might get re-injured. So sometimes our patients have to stay in crates for a while, and that's just basically the equivalent of bed rest. You can't tell an eagle or an owl, excuse me, sir, you have to stay in bed. You can't move around. You kind of have to give them a space in which that fits their needs. So our wildlife rehabilitators also do the role of an occupational therapist or a physical therapist. So that means that, let's say that bird recovers from his little broken wing and he has been in a crate or a confined space for a long time while that bone was healing and that injury was resolving itself. And now his muscles have atrophied. So muscles are use it or lose it, which means that if you don't flex them or you don't use them every day, they sort of get all small and shrimpy and very weak. And so our wildlife rehabilitators will help to build those up by doing flight flight exercises and different maneuvers, and like putting their food in different places in their enclosure to encourage them to move around so they can build up those muscles again. And then our wildlife rehabilitators will determine whether or not that animal is ready for release yet. So based on all of those things, those animals that come into our hospital, of the 3,000 patients that annually come in on average, making up over 200 different species of animals that come in, our goal is always to release them back to the wild. Because of course, that's where their family is, that's where their friends are, that's where all their favorite foods are, and that's where their jobs are, right? So wild animals provide ecological roles in the environment. And if you take one or a species out, that can be very detrimental to the ecosystem. Now, taking one bird out of the ecosystem doesn't necessarily destroy the whole thing, but for that bird, that's where they prefer to be, is back in their home territory. So for us, that is the most important part of our mission and our goal at the Wildlife Center. Now, we also have outreach staff. Outreach staff are basically your helpful friends that connect the hospital to you. We work with education ambassadors who are non-releasable for a number of different reasons, including being inappropriately kept by humans, or maybe they have a physical injury that makes them non-releasable. But regardless, they are our little coworkers. They help us to teach the world to care about and care for wildlife and the environment. And their stories are very, very powerful. And so just like today, we'll be drawing a bunch of ambassadors, and that'll be super, super fun. And I'm excited to share them with you guys. I oftentimes have to remind myself how truly special my job is at the Wildlife Center. And that's simply because I get to work with these highly trained, ex-wild animals. They are still wild animals, but they live in human care now. And that's really unique and so, so special. Some of those bonds are, very, very strong. So yeah, very exciting. So I am getting an update from Kayla, or I'm sorry, from Randy, that we are almost to our first goal. We are very, very close. So, wow, this is amazing. I only went on, what, 10 minutes ago? And we've already gotten really close to our first goal. That's really exciting. So, just as a reminder, when we reach that first goal, I will post a poll in our chat so that you guys can vote on Rowan, Gus, or Edie for Kayla to draw first, and I'll talk about whoever you guys choose. So that's pretty excited. Let's see if I have any other updates. I don't. So let me just talk about my role as an outreach educator. So my job here at the Wildlife Center of Virginia is essentially to go all over the state of Virginia to teach about wildlife and the Wildlife Center and the environment. And I also do virtual program where I'm able to travel basically all over the world, which is pretty cool. And I share the stories of the ambassadors, the patients, and the Wildlife Center with tens of thousands of people every year. And it's really, really cool because, there's that famous quote that you basically can't care about something that you don't know about, right? And you don't save things that you're not passionate about. And so my job is just to share some knowledge that I have and share the captivating presence of my education ambassadors so that people learn a little bit. Maybe they find a new species that they're really excited about. And all that stuff, and hopefully inspire them to be a little bit better of environmental stewards in the process, which is pretty cool. So I think that I hear Kayla on here, and I think she might be joining me.
Yes, I'm here. I'm just getting excited because we're very, very close to that first goal, and I am ready to draw. I'm ready.
Yeah, good morning.
It's a good day when I get to spend the day doing art.
Oh, for sure. And I don't know about you guys, all of our viewers right now, but I find watching people draw and paint and, share their artistic abilities very, very soothing. So
I hope
that you
so.
are in a very zen mood today, but you're also excited to help us raise that money so that we can add a critter cam to our lineup. Oh, very exciting.
I know I'm very excited about that. And I just really like hearing about the ambassadors and you working with them, and hopefully we can tell some fun stories and learn some stuff today. That's what I'm excited about that too.
So, my friend, I see that you have been adding to this.
I have been, isn't it beautiful?
I like the random band-aid. That's interesting.
Well, you were talking about veterinary care, and I just threw that in when you were talking about it. It felt appropriate.
Is that I don't think that we actually use like little sticker band-aids.
I'm sure we don't. I just did not know what else to do.
Oh no, I just have never considered that because I always think about how our hospital so closely mimics like a human hospital, but I don't think that we use regular band-aids.
Yeah. It's a universal symbol.
Really better because we know not to pick them off and eat them, but eagles, they do their own thing,
That's true. But it's a nice universal symbol for healthcare.
Yeah.
Well, who are you? Tell me who. I actually, I don't want anybody to be biased. So tell me a little bit about each of your options.
Oh, yes.
Because we have 3 options for you to talk about. Rowan, Gus, or Edie. So maybe you can sell people on one of them, but not be biased in talking about it. I don't know how that's possible, but I believe in you.
Obviously all of us have our preferences of who we would love to see drawn. But honestly, I just have a deep appreciation for all of our wildlife ambassadors simply because, they are doing an enormous job for their species, and they are incredibly important to our jobs. I mean, obviously I could go anywhere and teach about wildlife and the environment and people could just look at my face, but it is so captivating for people to see them in person. And, I think that a lot of times their stories resonate with people because they're seeing them in person, and up close. So while I do have my preference of that list, I think that I prefer all 3 of them for different reasons, actually, Kayla. And I would be thrilled if any of them are going to be drawn. So I guess I'm just going to win this morning.
Well, that's interesting because we just surpassed that first goal. So, yeah, so we can go ahead and throw that poll up. And if you want to talk a little bit and give people some time to put their vote in, maybe, I don't know, I'm just so excited.
Here we are. I posted the poll in the chat. So, all right. So Rowan is a young red-tailed hawk, and he is precious because he still makes little chirping noises when you go to talk to him. And Rowan and I have a really special relationship because when Raina left the Wildlife Center, I took over being his primary handler, and I got him to go to the gala, and my good friend Lydia, who's also one of our volunteer docents, she got to name him, which was very exciting. And it was just a very emotional day and an evening at the gala. And little precious Rowan is growing his big boy tail feathers in. So many of you may know that red-tailed hawks are born with little stripy tails when they're young, and then when they enter their second year of life, they molt those out and they grow in their little red tails, and it's so bittersweet for me to watch because he's becoming a little big bird. But,
that's very sweet that you get to experience that.
It's, wow, what a life experience. Truly what a life experience. Something I'll never forget for the rest of my life is watching this little bird grow up and, you know, become into himself, which is so cool.
True.
All right, so Gus has a precious nook in my heart because Gus is a barred owl, and she is the longest serving employee of the Wildlife Center besides Ed Clark, which is a big deal.
Wow.
She is 26 years old. Holy moly. So Gus has seen some things over her. She has lived a full life. And she's not done living yet, friends. Gus, though, is precious to me because she has a very touching story, and one that I think people often feel very strongly about after they hear about it. And she's been fighting the good fight for 26 years, and I just really appreciate her, and I always think how I can honor her because she is, you know, giving her life to educate the masses about conservation and her story. And I think that's really important. So, I think by sharing her story, we are able to honor her and continue on teaching people with her.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And then there's little Edie Bean. Edie Bean she weighs about as much as half a cupcake. She is sometimes a little monster. She's a lot less, she's a lot more bark and less bite in her older advanced years. But she gives you that threatening glare. And man, I just love it. You know, she was inappropriately raised by people. And I think that I have a special appreciation for ambassadors that still maintain a little bit of that fire towards humans who have done them wrong. And Edie Bean is just such a precious little girl.
She really is.
Yeah, she's so charismatic and she's beautiful. And because even though she's tiny, she has a pretty big presence, I think.
She does. She definitely does.
For sure. I often forget that she is a tiny little bird because she is just bigger than life, man. She's a good little bird.
I did not set a time. Did you set a timer on this poll? Do you know when we're stopping? Oh wait, it tells us in the chat. What a good chat. You posted it at 10:18 and it's 10:22.
Oh yeah, we've got just
a minute.
5 minutes. Yes. So we have 1 minute left. And it's a quick one. So I hope everyone's paying attention and keeping up. Oh, Edie is pulling ahead.
Wow, that was rapid. You must have sold her pretty well to everybody.
Yeah.
Oh no.
What?
I see a comment from Lacey coming through that says weight of education animals is best when given in cupcake portions. Edie weighs about the same as half a cupcake.
Okay, yes. So Edie weighs about as much as half a cupcake. Gus weighs approximately as much as a pineapple. And
Stop.
weighs about as much as a small watermelon, like those tiny ones
Oh,
that
like a
are,
mini watermelon.
yeah, not the big boys. Good Lord.
No,
That's
that's too much.
buddy weight. Yes. But because you can tell kids how much something weighs. You can tell adults how much something weighs. And I don't really know what that means. And they don't really know what that means. So I find that things like fruits and treats as equivalents work just well. All right. So I am bad at math. Are we at 5 minutes?
We are. So let's see who
Oh,
won.
he won.
Edie
Wow.
won. Oh
Oh,
my gosh.
it was close. Rowan has 9 votes. Gus has 6, and Edie has 11.
Wow. I'm very happy about that. I'm not going to say actually any day that I get to I said draw in general, but honestly any day that I get to draw a bird makes me happy. So I'm going to go ahead and start. And then maybe we'll get an update from Randy about our second goal as I'm drawing, and I'll keep you posted on that because we're going to have another goal to see when we're going to vote for the next.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll talk to you about what I'm doing here. I am starting, I have a picture of Edie pulled up so I can get all of her features very accurately drawn because that's important to me. Her steely gaze is very important. I need to capture that. So I'm just kind of giving myself a circle, a little kind of oval here because her head is kind of, because of the way the feathers lay, it looks a little angular. Like,
yeah.
So I'm kind of starting out with an oval, and then I'm going to kind of look up at my reference, and we're just doing a sketch. If you're sketching along, I recommend not thinking too hard here. You just want to lay down basic shapes, and honestly, your eraser is your friend, which I'm going to use right now. And honestly, that circle I start with, I usually end up don't using that or not grammar, not using that closely because
it's a Friday morning.
It is. TGIF, am I right? But the Wildlife Center, we're open 7 days a week. So
sure.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah, I'll be going in to feed little Edie Bean tomorrow.
No way.
Yeah. So I feed birds 6 days a week, and that's to help out rehab so that during these crazy times, since they're a little short-staffed, I figured that would be a good way to lend a hand. And it's pretty precious. On Saturdays, I get to feed all of the education birds, which is really special for me. I sort of try to savor that time because I get to see everyone and check in on everyone, make sure everyone's doing all right.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So when you feed Edie, tell me what you feed her, because I always see you asking for specific things for Edie. Yeah. Let's talk about that because she's a little lady. So like, what does she eat?
She's a little lad, but let me tell you what, kestrels eat a lot.
Really?
Yes. I remember that from one of Alex's virtual programs with Verlin, who is also an American kestrel, he mentioned that Verlin eats, oh my gosh, was it 5 or 25% of his body weight?
Wow.
Why can't I remember numbers? I am so terrible with numbers, friends. But an enormous chunk of their body weight in food every day. And that's because they are just constantly moving. They got a high metabolism. They, so they eat a lot. So Edie Bean eats mealworms, which she loves. Loves. And then she also eats little chunks of mice, which she doesn't necessarily prefer, but sometimes she'll get in a mouse mood, and man, she goes to town on those little chunks.
Oh,
really fantastic. Recently, we had some baby cockroaches, though.
Oh, I heard about that. That was new, right? That's a new thing for her?
Yeah. Well, I don't know whether it's new for her because she's been around for 14 years, but she may have eaten them before, but it is something out of the ordinary from her usual diet. So when oh man, can you imagine how crunchy they would be?
Yeah, and I imagine it's always fun to try something new. So I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
that was great.
Great enrichment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an enrichment because Do you want to talk about enrichment that you offer Edie? Like specifically things that you've offered Edie specifically?
Yeah, so I think that naturally birds of prey are a little skeptical of new things, right? So even just putting like a tennis ball in their enclosure, if they're a little unsure of it, technically that is enrichment. But
Wow.
enrichment is something that I know, so simple to please them, eh? Um, Enrichment is something that mentally, physically stimulates them, just so that it's something out of the ordinary. Because in the wild, they'd be experiencing, many different things all at once, simply from being wild critters. And um, so while they're flying around in the wild, they're encountering lots of different things that are, getting their body moving, getting their brain moving. And so while they're in human care, we try to mimic that by offering them some things. We can offer them, sometimes we play bird calls for them and of their specific species,
Mm-hmm.
and gives them a little bit of mental stimulation. Sometimes we give them different foods that we wouldn't normally feed them just to see what they would do with it. Yesterday, I gave Buttercup a hard-boiled egg, and he loved it.
Me too, though.
That was a treat for him. Sometimes we take them to new places. So, like going out on programs is enrichment for them because they get to see people and look at new places and travel in a car and stuff.
That's wonderful. I wanted to give an update.
But for little Edie Bean, those cockroaches surely are enrichment for her. She also enjoys if you like crumple up some newspaper and you put some mealworms in it, and then she kind of has to like hunt them in the crevices.
That's amazing.
She likes that with the little feet.
I wanted to update a little bit about what I'm doing. I'm still just kind of doing the same, looking at my reference
Kayla,
picture.
I know that you don't handle the birds, but what's your experience with Edie?
My experience with Edie...
Memorable moments with her?
I very much enjoy just walking by and visiting her. I try, when I am at the center, to go see all of our ambassadors. And I no moment springs to mind, but she's just always a joy to visit because she has a presence about her that definitely stands out. She's just a very special bird. Like, I think everybody kind of feels similarly about her, that she's just very special.
Yeah. She's like a tiny little fury.
It's true.
Great.
I'm still kind of sketching here. I just wanted to update.
Yeah, what you got going on?
I'm just kind of looking at my reference picture and kind of eyeballing some different markings and different things. I don't know if anybody's kind of drawing along, but, I highly recommend drawing from nature, draw from photographs, you could draw from memory too, but I unfortunately don't look at Edie enough to have her entire visage memorized. I need to work on that. So just looking at a picture.
Photographic memory to memorize.
Some things I feel like I've looked at enough that I can draw, like my dog, but Edie's a different story. I need to go out. I need to, once I'm back at the center, go out there and visit her more until I have memorized all of her markings. For Edie, for her markings, what are the benefits to the way that kestrels have these markings?
Oh, yeah. So females are a little more muted. So if you check out our website and you go to the page where we have all of our education ambassadors, you'll notice that Verlin, the male American kestrel, he's a little bit more brightly colored, but that's pretty usual amongst the animal world. So kestrels are something called sexually dimorphic, which means that males and females look differently. And some raptors are not, like red-tailed hawks are not, bald eagles are not, vultures surely aren't. Barred owls are not. So a lot of times you have to use other clues to figure out whether those are males or females, or do a blood test to know for sure. Or if someone lays an egg, that's a good indicator too. So for Edie Bean, she has a couple of markings that sort of help her as a small bird of the world. So kestrels are unfortunately commonly a food source for many larger animals. So they have a couple of markings that sort of help them to camouflage and disguise them. So they have two different colorations. Their belly is very light and their wings are generally darker. And that helps them because if something is flying above them and looking down on them, the ground is dark, and so the top of them is dark, so they're able to blend in a little easier. And then if something's looking up at them, at the sky is light and their belly is light, so that helps them. And if you think of that in that coloration pattern in sort of dramatic terms, you can think of like the penguin, right? So that's very similar.
Interesting.
And it serves the same purpose. Yeah, very interesting. So also, because she is a bird that is frequently eaten by other bigger birds, she has special facial markings on the front of her face. Those little lines underneath her eyes are similar to the marks that football players will put underneath their eyes, you know, those little black strips.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was just drawing that and I was like, wait, what is this for?
Yes. Yeah, that's to help with the sun glare. So they also have a supraorbital ridge, which is essentially a fierce brow line. And that acts as little like visors for little eyeballs. So when they're flying around, they don't have to squint.
Wow, that's cool.
I know, right? I kind of wish that I had supraorbital ridges because, man, I hate wearing sunglasses.
I think you would look really different, though, if you did.
Oh, we would all look very different. We would all look very different. Yeah, so she also has darker marks on the back of her head, which I'm not sure that you'll be able to see through Kayla's drawing, but those are intentionally supposed to look like eyeballs so that something that's flying behind her might think that she can already see them, and then they might be discouraged from trying to hunt her. Kestrels are also very fast. They have to catch prey that's very quick and also evade things that are trying to make them lunch. So they're quick little zoomers of the sky world.
That's very interesting.
What interesting language I'm using today.
Get to getting, Lauren.
Get to getting.
Here
we are.
Kind of sketching on top. I don't know if I'll have time to kind of finish the illustration of everyone today. We might just end up doing some sketches that I finish later, but I'm just kind of fooling around here to try and develop it. This is my little Edie. I did get an update from Randy that our next goal, since we're getting kind of close to feeling pretty finished with Edie here, would be 2,000. And we are well on our way to that, actually, already this morning.
Wow.
Yeah, we are almost there. We're about at a little over 1,500. So if we get to 2,000, we're going to bring our next guest on for another poll, right?
Oh, a mystery. Who will it be? I wonder.
I will be sad to not have you here with me, but I think that it'll be a really interesting day to have so many different people come and talk. So everyone, I think we can hit this next goal pretty soon, it feels like. I definitely want to keep working on Edie a little bit longer. Hopefully everybody's enjoying that. I'm trying to.
So how about I talk a little bit about Edie's story? Just because maybe there are some people who aren't as familiar with Edie listening.
I think that is a great idea.
All right, perfect. Let's get started, friends. So Edie was found on the ground as a nestling, and some very well-meaning people who were unfortunately not permitted wildlife rehabilitators tried to raise her, and unfortunately when people do that, it is very detrimental to wildlife because they are not like domestic species. They're not like dogs and cats who are genetically predisposed to having to rely on people. Wild animals are fiercely independent, and a lot of their upbringing will relate to how they behave as adults. And so while these people were likely trying to do their best for Edie, unfortunately, they were setting her up for a life that meant that she could never be wild. So Edie is what we call imprinted on humans, which means that imprinting is a phase that birds go through when they're young. And it's how their brain physically grows to learn who will be their competition for food and space and opportunities for mating when they are adults. So, obviously, a kestrel being raised by a kestrel will grow up to learn how to hunt, speak, behave like a kestrel, and that will make them a good member of kestrel society, if you will. And they also will grow up with an appropriate fear of humans, and that's very, very important for all wildlife. So that fear is something that keeps them safe and it keeps us safe. You can imagine how concerning it would be if wildlife approached us as if all of us were Snow White.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yes, that would be frightening because some of these animals are built as predators, right? So that would be scary. And Edie might not be intimidating because she only weighs as much as half a cupcake, but let me tell you, friend, she has a very sharp beak and she has very sharp talons. And I wear a thick leather glove when I work with her, and even if she bites me on the hand, I still feel it through the glove.
Oh, wow.
I'm thankful for that glove, you know?
That's a very sharp cupcake.
Yes, a very sharp cupcake.
Danger cupcake.
Danger cupcake. So when wildlife are unfortunately raised by people who don't know what they're doing, a lot of times people will fling them back into the wild, but they won't realize that after they're out there, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to get their own food. They don't know how to migrate if they're a migratory species. They might not have an appropriate fear of people, so they might go up to people. And it's important to remember that not all people are nice and kind and sort of calm around wildlife who may be acting inappropriately. And you, of course, cannot keep wildlife as a pet. It's illegal in Virginia, but also for birds, it is federally illegal. So that's a big deal. You can get in a lot of trouble for keeping a bird or wildlife as pets. And they just don't, that's not where they want to be. You know, they want to be out in the wild doing their thing. And sure, they might look really cool and be a very interesting thing to consider as a pet, but they shouldn't be.
Right.
Yes, and that's very, very important. So, yeah, and also if you don't have the proper education or the proper permitting to raise wildlife, you know, like I said, there are an enormous amount of things that can go wrong. Our wildlife rehabilitators are a wealth of knowledge when it comes to proper diet and proper behaviors and how to encourage good health amongst our young patients that are being raised to be wild. But one of the most imperative things is that they don't become accustomed to people, because that would make them non-releasable like Edie. But luckily for us, Edie is a superb education ambassador, and we can teach people about her story, and we can teach people that even though your heart is in the right place, sometimes the best, or always the best thing for a wild animal that needs help is to go to a permitted wildlife rehabilitator.
Yeah, I think that's a good message to be able to share.
Yes.
It's unfortunate that it happened, but she's definitely very important to our message.
Yes, and also think about all the other wild animals besides just kestrels that she may have helped. You know, people who have met her and heard her story, and the next time they found a baby squirrel or a baby bunny, they think twice about taking that into their home and trying to care for it, or they think twice about, you know, handling it too much. Handling wildlife can also be enormously stressful to them. Upon patients being admitted to the hospital, we actually give them a little bit of a breather time in a warm, dark, quiet area, just so that they can calm down. Because, I mean, being injured and then being picked up by a human is, I can't even imagine. If
Well,
there were a
that would be very frightening.
I'd be petrified. Yeah. So we give them that time to just sort of calm down a little bit. And also, it's a good reminder that wildlife that are stressed are not healing, right? And our goal is to put them back in the wild as soon as they are ready. So it behooves us not to delay that process for them as well.
It's true.
Yeah.
I think
Look
it's
how good.
about time to maybe share who our next guest would be to get people pumped. I don't know. We're still well on our way to that next goal, but do you want to let them know who's next on deck and who they will be voting for to maybe get things a little exciting?
Yes. So the mystery guest.
Wow.
That's my drum roll, friends. That was very weak.
Very good. I thought it was good. It's Friday.
Oh, thanks. It's Friday. Our next guest is Alex. And his poll choices will be Buddy, Verlin, or Lewis and Clark. So Alex works very closely with all 4 of those critters. And I'm sure he'll be overjoyed.
Overjoyed.
Void's
thrilled. No, I mean,
you will be filled with joy.
Yes.
To talk about any of those ambassadors. And like I said, I think that I can speak for Amanda, Alex, and myself. We love all of our ambassadors. We appreciate them deeply, and they are all very, very important to us as little individuals. And also we recognize their role within the organization. But, each of us have our little sets of critters that we work with more closely because everyone has preferences because we're people.
Yeah, and they're kind of like, I don't know, is it appropriate to kind of call them your teammates? You kind of have...
Yeah.
That you work with?
Yeah, and friendships is not really the right relationship, but I guess we just have very close working relationships.
Yeah.
With, some of these animals, yeah.
And I know we have to have some Buddy fans, and
we have to.
I think they would be interested in the option of drawing him.
Yes,
or option.
Lewis and Clark, though. I mean, those.
I'm big Lewis and Clark fans.
Oh man, and their little noses and whiskers. Whew.
Did you see the live event that Alex did? Oh
my gosh, with Lewis?
Yes.
Wow. Yes. And he was holding everything with his hands.
His little hands.
And then did you see when he took a little trip around the library? He was like, here we go, just gonna go explore. And he took a little trip around the perimeter and and then got some snackies.
I feel like he was very polite in his exploration, not to attribute that to a wild animal, but I just feel like opossums, in the way that they interact with things, is very thoughtful, if that makes sense. Just like
they are. Yeah. They are very pure in their intentions.
It's very I enjoyed that. I've enjoyed all of the live programs, honestly.
Yeah. That's true. This pandemic is just such a bummer, but the greatest part about this is that we've really gotten to enjoy really diving into virtual programs, and I am just loving it. I'm really enjoying myself with these.
Yes, I'm happy with how adaptable we've been able to be.
Oh, yeah. You know us. We rise to the occasion.
Making it work.
Get to getting.
Oh, boy. All right. I am just finishing up Edie's feet.
Oh, look at those little murder toes.
A very sharp cuppy cake. I don't know if anybody's been drawing along, but I would love to see if anybody has also drawn Edie, because...
Yeah. Submit it to the chat. I would love to see them, too.
I hope you're drawing, because... honestly, you should be doing art and being creative every day, which is honestly very hard right now because we, as a society, are going through a lot. But taking the time to be creative is very important, and I think would kind of bring some peace to yourself, kind of finding something to focus on that you can look at the end and be like, I made that, is very important.
It's people enrichment.
Yeah, people enrichment. There you go. It is.
People. Yeah, it is. I have started painting again, and I've picked up a new hobby of embroidering, which is creative.
Ooh.
And that has enormously helped my mental health during this time.
That's
just
wonderful.
To create something with my fingers,
Yeah.
own hands.
It's something to focus on, that at the end you can be like, I did this. I'm proud of myself. I did this. Like this Edie. I'm proud of this.
Look at her. She's just really coming together.
She's just precious.
Oh my gosh. And I also love that Edie has these special little feathers that are on like the on lower belly, and they sometimes stick out.
Yeah, I could see that kind of like, I was trying to kind of give a little bit of, because when she, because birds kind of, I don't know the correct term for this, but they floof.
Yeah, they rouse.
Sorry, what did you say?
Called rousing.
Rousing. Okay, that sounds, I don't know.
All of their feathers and they shake them.
Yes, and I love when Edie does that, because it's just like those in particular, those front ones definitely, they really rouse up.
They really do. And then she gets this little appearance that she's like a little bit flat.
Ugh.
Oh yeah, I love it so much. Also, one time I had the absolute honor of seeing Edie take a bath, and wow.
That sounds wonderful.
It was so wonderful. She was just splashing around, having a great time, preening all of her little feathers, make sure she looked beautiful and presentable. Oh man. I feel like birds never have bad feather days.
I've seen some birds have some bad feather days. Are
you thinking of one in particular?
I'm thinking of our education ambassador who sadly left us, Alex.
Oh, yes.
I miss her so much, but she is the first one I think of when I think of a bad hair day for a bird.
Yeah. So Alex, not to be confused with human Alex, was an education screech owl. And every spring when she would molt, she would drop all of her head feathers essentially at the same time. And she just looked ragged.
It was something.
Oh man. If her, I really think that she could have been a meme for like Monday mornings.
Oh, you know? Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
If Marley's listening, get to memeing, Marley.
Get to memeing. I'm pretty sure that we've done something similar to that, but like, I can imagine that going viral. I mean, any screech owl, every screech owl that I've ever known has always done the same exact molt. And it's just funny to think about them in the wild.
It really is, like just flying around.
Just flying around, trying to be impressive, and yet they're missing half of their face feathers.
Precious. I'm trying to see if we have any updates.
Oh yeah.
Don't see anything yet. Randy, if you're listening, you can let us know how close we are to that next goal, because I know people are anxious to put that vote in. I'm very ready.
Oh, yeah. Me too. I'm pretty excited. I think that I have an idea of who might win, but also, I don't know. I think that Edie surprised me.
Edie surprised. I agree. I think I also have an idea who's going to win, but Edie was the underdog I did not expect today. So, who knows? Yeah, hopefully I'm prepared for anyone. I draw a lot of birds in my free time. I love birds.
I have an update. We are at $1,510.
Okay. So we got a little bit to go.
We've got a little bit to go.
So maybe I will just start some colors.
Yes.
We have the time to dive into that. It's going to be interesting because digitally, it's easier if I had the ability to just like directly pick from her feathers, because these are very specific colors, but I'm just going to try to eyeball it, and you can tell me if this looks totally wrong.
Okay. I mean, I think that the point of today is that everyone just does.
You're right. You're right. You're right. I'm just going to live my bliss. I'm going to live my bliss.
Yeah, live your bliss. Words, Kayla advice. Live your bliss.
Live your bliss. If you want to color Edie purple, you live your bliss. I'm going to go for the accurate colors to the best of my ability.
Oh, isn't that a beautiful color?
It
that,
is.
Like, auburn, rusty brick color.
I love it. It's they have such beautiful colors.
Yeah, they do.
Feathers.
Oh man, I love how she's got this fierce expression, like, I am Edie Bean.
I tried to capture that. Like, that's very important to me. That attitude you kind of get. I'm glad.
That I am never good at is is coloring.
Really? I'm trying to kind of bring some of these colors into here. I'm happy that I have the time to put a little color into this because they're just beautiful.
Oh, my friend.
Yes?
It is Alex time.
Wow! That was so fast, everybody!
It's Alex time because his goal was 1,000.
Oh, no. The goal's 2,000.
I was wrong. I'm sorry, friends. If anybody knows me personally, they will know that I have zero skill when it comes to remembering numbers at all.
Oh, you got me very excited. I mean, I believe that Critter Nation could make that happen.
I believe it too.
So I just believed you.
Well, I was believing on you. We were just believing in ourselves.
Don't stop believing.
We were living our bliss.
Living the bliss. Well, what I'm doing here is I'm trying to add, so if you look at a kestrel, I feel like they definitely, and any bird, a lot of their feather colors are kind of limited to certain areas. You know, like she has more of the rusty feathers. They're very vibrant around her head, but that rest of that color is still kind of present throughout her entire body. Same with kind of like this, the cool, what would you call that? Like a cool gray kind of blue that they have in there as well is kind of still, even though it's more located on the wing, and I feel like on the head, it's still kind of scattered throughout. You see some of those cooler tones even across the chest.
Yeah, it's kind of like a slate color.
Yes, that slate. Yes, exactly. So I feel like these colors kind of are still present throughout the rest of her feather distribution, the rest of her body. So I'm trying to bring some of that in across the board. And artistically, I feel like that's nice. You have like that palette kind of present throughout, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. Kind of keep it unified, keep it visually. If we're talking drawing day, if we're talking art, kind of keeping that present, kind of it leads the viewer's eye across the illustration or painting or whatever.
Well, she looks so good, but my friend,
yes,
Amanda, has informed me that 1,000 was the goal and that it is time for Alex.
Oh, okay.
And we are accidentally soaking up Alex time. Oh my gosh, look at her little feet though. Oh. Also, I'd like to give a special shout out to Barb G, who submitted her drawing of Edie, and it looks so good. She submitted it in the chat. Amazing. All right. Well, unfortunately for me, our time is done, Kayla.
Okay. I know, it's very sad. It's very sad.
Now you get to talk to Alex.
It's true. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch us to a little wait screen, and then I will pull Alex in and we will go live with a fresh canvas and get everything voted and ready to roll.
All right, friends. Now, just before we end, I just want to say to everyone that's helped us get to our goal so far, thank you a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That is unreal that you guys went to the goal and surpassed it and kept going full steam ahead. And it was quicker than Kayla could draw Edie to completion. That's amazing.
It's true.
Incredible.
All right. So if you want to say goodbye, we'll transition out and we'll get ready for Alex.
All right. Bye, Kayla.
Bye.